Greetings and welcome to this new video, faithful. Because of its horrific contents and the decades-long mystery surrounding it, the third secret of Fatima has never failed to pique curiosity. A genuine case has been established by years and years of secrecy, silence, and sporadic, unclear, and incomplete disclosures. Let's address the main points raised in this video. When is the prophecy going to come to pass? We have every reason to believe that the United States is currently seeing the first signs of the third Fatima prophecy, and everyone is terrified of what might occur in the next few days. It's time to share the secret that Our Lady has been holding for a long time. It was not the appropriate moment to reveal this secret, according to those in charge of keeping it secure. Pope John Paul II did not decide to reveal the secret of Fatima until 2000. To truly grasp what is going on and the reason behind the revelation of the third secret Fatima, pay close attention until the very end. According to some accounts, these revelations touch on issues like hell, the two world wars, the difficulties Christians encountered in the 20th century, and a potential new wave of communism that would soon take over the globe. Still, one issue remains. Are Our Lady of Fatima's visions actually accurate? Please remember to subscribe to the channel and share our material with your close ones if you believe in God and Jesus Christ and would want to see more videos like to this one. In Fatima, Portugal, the Virgin Mary appeared to three little shepherds. Mary requested that they pray the rosary every day throughout these apparitions in order to aid in the cessation of World War I, which was going on at the time. For 6 months, Lucia, Jacinta, and Francisco saw Mary once a month. The Leiria Fatima bishop acknowledged these visions as genuine in 1930, and the Catholic Church also affirmed the veracity of the apparitions in the same year. Approximately 6 million people visit Fatima annually, making it one of the most popular pilgrimage destinations today. Many come specifically on May 13th, the day of the first apparition, and October 13th to get a special blessing and to pray for necessities such as health. Going back to 1917, the three youngsters in Portugal saw the Virgin Mary for 6 months. The most well-known is Lucia dos Santos, who saw the apparitions with her cousins Francisco, Marto, and Jacinta. The secrets that Mary had given Lucia at the local bishop's request were largely revealed thanks to Lucia. As word of the apparitions at Fatima spread, many people started requesting an obvious sign. Tens of thousands of people saw Mary perform the well-known miracle of the sun, in which the sun seemed to dance in the sky during her last apparition in October 1917. This occurrence was documented by several publications. But it wasn't just the paranormal happenings that drew in the public interest. Lucia also claimed to have learned secrets from Our Lady during one of the trips, which wasn't the first or the last. Regretfully, Francisco and Jacinta Marto perished at an early age due to the epidemic of Spanish flu. In contrast, Lucia dos Santos lived to reach 97 years old, converted to Carmelite nunhood, and passed away in 2005, 23 years after the apparitions. Lucia was requested to document the secrets handed to her by the Bishop of Fatima. The first 2 secrets were promptly recorded by Lucia, but she was reluctant to divulge the third. It was only upon receiving an order from the bishop that Lucia eventually wrote down the third secret, which she sealed in an envelope to be unsealed only in 1960, when it was thought the information would be easier to understand. Francisco and Jacinta were the youngest non-martyrs to receive religious honors when they were beatified by Pope John Paul II in 2000. Later, in 2017, Pope Francis canonized them in conjunction with the centennial commemoration of the Fatima apparitions. 6 times did Our Lady visit Fatima, and in each of these trips, she revealed to the children 3 things that have come to be known as the 3 mysteries of Fatima. The first secret has to do with a hellish vision. Lucia told them about the hell that Our Lady showed them, which was full of tormented souls. The youngsters experienced intense distress throughout the brief vision. Their trust in Mary's vow to guide the faithful toward Christ in order to spare souls from such a dreadful fate was strengthened as a result of this encounter. In the second secret, Our Lady told the children that World War I was about to finish. But she also warned that a new global conflict would break out when Pope Pius XI, who presided over the Church from 1922 to 1939, was in office. Tragic consequences would transpire if Russia did not change and humanity persisted in disobeying God. Unfortunately, World War II did really break out in 1939, exactly as foretold. Of the three secrets, the third is said to be the most enigmatic and contentious. At first, Lucia was hesitant to share it, but she eventually wrote it down at the Bishop of Leria's request. This material was kept under wraps until it was eventually made public in 2000. In 2000, the world learned the third mystery of Fatima at the same time that Francisco and Jacinta Marto were declared saints. With the help of the Virgin Mary, Lucia recorded the third part of the secret in accordance with a heavenly directive and the Leiria bishop's instructions. Following her explanation of the first two sections of the secret, Lucia described a vision she had seen in which an angel with a blazing sword in his left hand was standing slightly above and to the left of Our Lady. The sword's flames, which appeared to have the power to destroy the entire globe, went out as they came into touch with the brilliant light coming from Our Lady's right hand. The youngsters witnessed a sight that resembled humans passing in a mirror and were engulfed in a tremendous light that they recognized as God. The angel continued to cry out, "Penance, penance, penance," while pointing his right hand toward the earth. They observed a white-clad bishop, whom they took to be the Pope, ascending a precipitous mountain accompanied by other bishops, priests, and other religious leaders. A massive cross composed of rough wood trunks loomed atop the mountain. The Pope walked through a half-destroyed city before arriving at the peak, praying sadly and carefully for the souls of the dead he came upon. After climbing to the summit of the mountain, he knelt at the base of the huge cross, where he was shot and murdered by a group of soldiers. In a same manner, under the cross, several bishops, priests, religious leaders, and members of various social strata perished. The blood of the martyrs was gathered by two angels with crystal centers, and they sprinkled it on the souls, making their way up to God. When this secret was made public, it was frequently linked to the May 13, 1981, murder attempt on Pope John Paul II. But the secret is not the same as the real incident. In the secret, the Pope survives while the bishop in white is slain. This has prompted others to think that the vision could allude to an upcoming event. Conversely, with the release of the third secret's text, Cardinal Ratzinger, later to be named Pope Benedict XVI, offered a thorough analysis of its contents. He pointed out that in the middle of all the conjecture, some people could find the secret less remarkable or even unexpected. Ratzinger clarified that neither an outstanding mystery nor a detailed future prediction are revealed by the secret. He made it clear that the vision's goal is to raise awareness of the significance of altering the course of events and avoiding fatalistic interpretations rather than to predict an unchangeable future. He claims that the vision emphasizes the hazards we face and how we may prevent them, rather than implying that we are confined to a predetermined fate. Let's now explore the children's experiences with Our Lady of Fatima's apparitions, which laid the groundwork for the sixth and last apparition, which disclosed the mysteries. The three children were given instructions by Mary to return on the same day every month for 6 months in the first apparition of Our Lady at Fatima, which occurred on May 13, 1917. She assured them that they would eventually enter paradise despite her warnings that they would encounter numerous challenges. In an effort to promote world peace, she also urged them to pray the Rosary every day. Mary requested that they conclude each decade of the Rosary with the Fatima prayer during the second apparition, which occurred on June 13, 1917. When the kids voiced their wish to go to heaven, Mary told them that Lucia would stay on earth longer and that she would soon take Jacinta and Francisco. On July 13, 1917, during the third apparition, Mary showed the kids a horrifying picture of hell and declared that God wished for a strong devotion to the Immaculate Heart of Mary in order to save souls from this horrible destiny. She also foretold the start of World War II and the persecution of Christians in Russia at that same time. Stating that Russia would spread its errors throughout the world, and incite wars and persecutions against the Church if prayers were not offered and the country was not dedicated to her Immaculate Heart. 6 days after the occurrence, on August 19, 1917, during the fourth apparition, Mary came to the children in a field, asking them to pray ardently and offer sacrifices for sinners. The children had been imprisoned by the local administration to prevent them from encountering Mary. She clarified that since no one could act as an advocate for them, a great number of souls were sentenced to hell. On September 13, 1917, a sizable throng saw the fifth apparition, which was a sighting of white rose petals falling from the sky and disappearing before they touched the ground. When Lucia asked Our Lady to heal the ill, Mary said that although the Lord did not trust everyone, some people would be healed and some would not. The day of October 13, 1917, when between 70,000 and 100,000 people saw the renowned miracle of the sun, visible up to nearly 10 miles distant, was the sixth and most notable apparition of Our Lady of Fatima. Unexplained events were reported by even the most skeptical journalists present at the occasion. Declaring herself to be the Lady of the Rosary, Mary urged people to turn from their sins, repent of their transgressions, and stop upsetting God, noting that he was already very angry. Despite the large number of adults present, the three children, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, were selected for this unique experience with Our Lady. This was no accident. They live as real-life examples of God's kindness and grace. It is possible to see the paradoxical power that has always pervaded the history of salvation. The stark contrast between the haughty people who God selected to change the world by living simple lives and the strong and conceited people with their plans and goals. Through their modest lives, the young shepherds of Fatima disseminated the word given to them and served as witnesses of divine kindness. Francisco, Jacinta, and their cousin Lucia were raised in a low-class rural environment without access to formal schooling. They had no knowledge of the world outside the mountains that surrounded them and were illiterate. Their remote living conditions were reflected in the rudimentary Christian education they received. Being the older of the two, Lucia taught her cousins and herself the catechism, while her mother taught her the Bible tales and prayers. Even though their religious upbringing was straightforward, the children's parents gave a great example of how to lead a committed life of religion. They prayed as a family, went to Mass on Sundays, and lived a life of integrity, decency, and compassion for those in need. From an early age, Lucia exhibited a unique sensitivity to God's love and a strong desire to fully immerse herself in that love, which would serve as her compass throughout her life. Francisco was a thoughtful person who valued solitude and had a strong bond with the natural world. He believed that the Creator was present in every aspect of the universe. However, Jacinta was especially mesmerized by the moon, referring to it as the candle of Our Lady because of its gentle brightness that did not cause eye strain. Jacinta was quite fond of the lambs, calling them by name and hugging them to her bosom in an obvious imitation of the Lord's care. She also had a special attachment to her cousin Lucia. The kids truly loved God and didn't care about anything else. They had a happy, innocent existence. They had an unusual encounter on a lovely spring day in 1916. The three companions said a short prayer and then witnessed the most amazing thing, a light brighter than snow coming from the trees, looking like a young man made of crystal sparkling in the sun. They had no idea at the time that they were about to meet a peace messenger from God, one that would usher in a period of prayer and spiritual growth. This was a completely unexpected view, and the brilliant light that was there impacted them deeply. The three youngsters received 3 visits from the Angel of Peace in the spring and summer of 1916. Every experience they had with the angel was heartwarming, giving them a distinct understanding of God's love and how he aspired to be loved. The angel encouraged the children to worship God sincerely and connect with Christ's sacrifice, helping to bring about everyone's reconciliation with the heavenly. He talked of a heavenly heart that listens to the humble and has a purpose of kindness for everyone. During one of these trips, the angel showed them Christ's flesh and blood, the most priceless gift, and requested them to offer sacrifices for people who lack constant thanks to God and for those who are ungrateful. With a strong and brave desire to give their life as a gift to the Creator and to assist others, the young shepherds committed themselves entirely to the worship of God from that point on. When the Virgin Mary, who shone brighter than the sun, appeared to them on May 13, 1917, and continued to do so every 6 months on the 13th, this yearning grew even greater. When Mary paid the three friends a visit, she reaffirmed their desire to be modest ambassadors of God's love in a world full with suffering. In order to atone for the sins that grieve God and help in the conversion of sinners, she questioned if they were prepared to commit themselves to Him and bear the hardships He would allow. Through Mary's shared visions, the children gained an understanding of how God's love is interwoven with human history, how sin frequently takes the form of a lack of response to divine love, and how kind God is despite the obstacles in life, and how He always seeks out people. Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta were so taken aback by what they saw during their initial contact with the celestial light that they made the decision to keep it a secret. But just as the disciples on the road to Emmaus could not contain their excitement after witnessing the resurrected Christ, Jacinta, overwhelmed by the beauty of Our Lady and overcome with enormous pleasure, could not hold back and was the first to tell of the amazement she felt. Jacinta told her friends what had happened, her heart brimming with delight. As word of the apparitions of Our Lady of the Rosary grew over time, the number of pilgrims visiting Covadonga increased. But as the visions gained more and more notoriety, the young shepherds faced a growing number of difficulties. They started to suffer immensely, particularly at the hands of others who denied or disagreed with what they said they had seen. Our Lady had forewarned them from the beginning that they would encounter significant challenges, a fate shared by several prophets. Their aim included overcoming obstacles, since they were frequently accused of lying or pursuing fame and wealth. Concerned for their safety and the possible fallout from such happenings, even their families, aside from Francisco and Jacinta's father, started to doubt the veracity of the visions. The hardest day was August 13th, when the local administrator, who was renowned for his free thinking and Masonic ideas, appeared out of the blue. He used deception and a promise to take them to Covadonga in an attempt to find out the secret they were keeping after questioning them at home and in church. However, he brought them to another place where he applied further pressure to divulge the information. He put them in a cell with other inmates and threatened to torture them, including burning them with olive oil when they would not speak. The young shepherds' lives were completely shaped by their faith. Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta's sincere desire to grow in their love for God continuously renewed the commitment they had made before Our Lady. Francisco responded to this situation with a profound calmness, saying, "If they kill us, it doesn't matter. We will go to heaven." For them, being in God's presence was like to being in a hallowed space. Their connection with God evolved into an ongoing act of worship, a never-ending inner flame. What gave them courage was this mystery. It was like a blazing bush in their souls, alerting them to the need to aid people imprisoned in ingratitude and wickedness, just like Moses did. They became human intercessors by reflecting God's light. Their lives turned into an ongoing act of love for God and sinners, shown in every tiny deed. Jacinta and Lucia pursued this vocation in different ways, but they were both contemplative, compassionate, and missionary in their approaches. Francisco, who had a deep spiritual sensitivity, devoted his life to adoration and to using solitude and inner serenity to seek God's presence. Conversely, Jacinta joyfully, virtuously, and generously lived out her religion, transforming every insignificant act of daily living into a sacrifice that pleased God and benefited humanity. Taking up the mantle of evangelization, Lucia responded to the invitation to dedicate the world to Mary's Immaculate Heart by sharing the message of divine compassion. The sun at Fatima unveiled the heavenly secret, and she became a witness who stepped aside to let it shine endlessly. On the other hand, Francisco and Jacinta had brief lives characterized by the purest simplicity. They lived only for and through love, the love that was made evident by the light of an exceptionally beautiful woman. They became gravely ill during a worldwide pandemic in 1918 and left this life. The youngsters knew their time on Earth was running out, since the lady had previously assured them that they would soon be in paradise. Who would have imagined that such brief and uncomplicated lives could exhibit such deep and abiding love? There are already indications of the third secret of Fatima's fulfillment in a number of nations, and discussions about it as a prophecy about impending tragedies or difficulties within the Church are still sparked by this interpretation. Some circumstances in the United States are seen to fit this picture of a crisis in the Church and the wider society. Now let's talk about the 8 indicators that the U.S. is already seeing emerge from the third prophecy of Fatima. Moral and spiritual crises are the first indication. Many religious pundits lament the decline of Christian values in American culture, citing the growth of secularism and growing divisiveness over moral and ethical matters like same-sex marriage, abortion, and other social concerns. Some perceive this as a spiritual crisis, since these disputes have sparked tensions within the Catholic Church and other American Christian communities. Catholic Church scandals are the second indicator. In recent decades, there have been several scandals involving sexual abuse within the Catholic Church in the United States. This has caused a crisis of faith and leadership inside the Church, undermining the trust of many Christians. This may be considered a component of the Church crisis that certain readings of the third secret of Fatima refer to. Geopolitical and economic strains are the third indicator. The U.S. has seen an increase in political divisiveness, social unrest, and economic worries in recent years. Some people link these variables to Fatima-like predictions, and they might be precursors to catastrophic worldwide catastrophes, coupled with uncertainties about pandemics, climate change, and even nuclear tensions. Climate change and natural calamities are the fourth sign. Some people believe that the rise in extreme weather occurrences, such as hurricanes, wildfires, and severe droughts, is a sign of the end of the world, possibly predicted by prophecies like the third secret of Fatima. Some theologians and experts of prophecy attribute these tragedies to heavenly warnings that mankind needs to repent. Fifth indicator: bigotry and discrimination based on religion. There's a rising belief in the U.S. that Christians, Catholics in particular, are being marginalized or subjected to more discrimination. The third secret's prophecies of pain and persecution, which are echoed in discussions about religious freedom and legislation restricting public religious activities, might be interpreted as a subtly persecutory kind of persecution. The pandemic's effects on religion are the sixth indication. The latest epidemic had a significant impact on American religious organizations. Churches were shut down, religious rituals were disrupted, and a lot of Christians had spiritual crises as a result of being alone and losing loved ones. This might be understood as an escalation of the Great Tribulation foretold in the Fatima prophecy, with far-reaching effects on the social and spiritual fabric. Food crises and shortages are the seventh indication. A growing number of Americans, particularly in the wake of the epidemic, are worried about food security and inflation, which has raised fears that serious economic difficulties might be approaching. A scenario with this magnitude of influence on people's lives may be seen as a component of the catastrophic future occurrences that are frequently the subject of conjecture in relation to the third secret. Splits within the Catholic Church are the eighth indication. In addition to the crises involving sexual abuse, the Catholic Church is increasingly debating matters like the place of women in the Church, clerical celibacy, and acceptance of LGBTQ+ people. Conservatives and progressives within the American Church are becoming more divided as a result of these disputes. Some perceive this as an internal crisis that may be a reflection of the third secret's prophecies about future pain and division within the Church. Just like the 3 young shepherds who had a profound experience of the divine love for humanity, live honorably and have a deep love for God. They were selected to shepherd in accordance with God's will and to serve as prophets of this love extended throughout the world. All believers should offer up daily prayers for the world's peace and the salvation of sinners, as Our Lady of Fatima fervently wished. Mary's message is a call to step up our prayer life, to pray more often and with greater fervor. Prayer is often reserved for really difficult situations. Perhaps this is the moment to pull out that long-forgotten rosary. The message of Fatima urges individuals who already have a rosary devotion to refresh and deepen their prayer life. This can be achieved by adopting new devotional practices, increasing one's attention during prayers, or setting aside extra time to pray to the Lord and Our Lady. But keep in mind that this prophecy is not a part of the Bible. Have faith in God and keep up the good deeds.